Niamh Kavanagh, it's so nice to have you with myself and Kevin Dundon on Under the Grill.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Is it a different experience to be grilled as opposed to be sautéed?
Well, it is. It's a different cooking technique. We could also poach you.
Oh.
So whichever. That was just like really slow.
I've never been poached.
All right. Okay.
But
I'm sure
occasionally
you
grilled.
have.
Not unless you count the times I've been in a spa where I've just sat in a hot tub for too long.
But I tell you what, being under the grill is a lot more interesting.
Excellent. I'm very excited about that.
And your choice is divine. You've
Thank you.
chosen bread and butter pudding.
Yes, bread and butter pudding is a big part of my life. It started out actually because my mother made it as a dessert when I was young. We used to
For
love...
special occasions, or?
Yeah, we only ever had dessert on Sundays or if people were coming, which is basically the same thing because it was nearly always more people at our table. So dessert wasn't a regular thing in our house. And so basically bread and butter pudding started there and I loved it. It was my favourite pudding that she made. And then what happened maybe when the kids were small and I was having Paul's family over for a while, and I knew they were coming for dinner and I didn't really bake or anything at that point. I said, well, I better make a dessert, and I didn't have time to go out, so I made bread and butter pudding.
So
and it
it's like
became
a family tradition.
Yes, it became, they'd never had it, weirdly. And my kids had certainly never had it. And they were all, oh my God, this is amazing. So it became my thing. And then when I chose my dessert for MasterChef, I made bread and butter pudding.
That's right.
So when you think of bread and butter pudding,
Yeah.
does it bring it back to your mum, to that place way back when?
100%. And
so the smell brings you right
the
back.
smell and also the ethos that she taught me, which was never to waste anything.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, which
Leftovers,
I still carried in. When I did MasterChef, I was always folding the bags. I was horrified by how much food wasn't eaten. You know, I was always thinking, I mean, I know they moved it on afterwards, but you're always thinking about when I make a menu or if I cook a chicken, there's like 10 dinners out of it. Do you understand me? In my
love
head.
it, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's about using food, but actually bread and butter pudding is a delicious pudding, and it's so unexpected and yet not a very expensive thing to cook.
No, and what's great about it is that you're actually using day-old bread.
Yeah.
And the other one is you could use croissants. At Easter time, you can use hot crust buns.
Oh yes, so
it's
many
like,
different ones.
like other cinnamon rolls is another great one too.
Wow, I'm such a traditionalist. I haven't gone that far.
No,
like
I know.
that.
It is beautiful.
It's gorgeous, Kevin.
Yeah, it's but do you get the sauce anglaise and the butterscotch sauce? It works.
Astonishing.
Yeah.
And so would you? So basically, you would pour it on fresh. That's the way forward.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
get that lovely separate.
You know the way you talk about your mum.
Yeah.
Do you think your kids then will do it for their family?
Well,
or are they doing it because they're 20? What are
Yeah, they're 20. They're in their early 20s. They're not thinking about anybody doing anything other than having a good time right now. They're not actually.
I'm with them.
There's no. What should we make for dessert? There's none of that stuff unless I'm there. You know, and it's funny when they come home, they want me to cook the things that they grew up with. And funny enough, quite a few of the recipes I still use are ones my mum taught me. So the bolognese I make is not a traditional. It's the base, but it's not, you know, it's like what we made in the 70s and 80s here.
Yeah.
You know, it was very exotic to have bolognese. My mum...
But it was though.
It was. My mum was very progressive, and so we made bolognese, but I still make it the same way. But
What other dishes did your mum make then? What about your granny? Did your granny
cottage
cook?
pie was a big one. Cottage pie. I love when you have lamb in it, but it wasn't as easy to get lamb minced at that point. Stew, loved stew, but with round steak with the bone in still. You know, so you would have boiled everything together. You know, Monday dinner was my favourite because Sunday you would have this fantastic feast. It was always a feast, my mum, and then we would talk about dieting the whole way through, eating all the food. But basically we always had guests and people go over, and it would have been a big roast, and Monday was leftover dinner.
Yeah.
So that was my favourite dinner in the week.
Was that
You
like
loved
made a
it,
stew then?
did you?
Was it like,
Yeah,
like,
you would make a stew, or what you
we
would
used to
do
call
is
that Monday's muck.
yeah, exactly. Or maybe you would make, you know, potato cakes and then use the gravy or whatever there was.
Beautiful, yeah.
It was a very different day, Monday. But my very favourite dinner that she made, that I still make now, is bacon and cabbage. Yeah. My very favourite dinner. When I'm away, I think about rasher sandwiches. I think I'll never get home to have a proper rasher. And then proper ham fillet boiled.
And
With
do you boil the cabbage in around?
in the water,
Yeah,
bacon water,
beautiful.
without a doubt. And if I'm really lucky to have a proper turnip, swede, whatever you want to call it, the proper orange one, in with it. Absolutely.
In the
beautiful.
water as well?
Yeah, last minute though. I steam them first now, and then I just put them in
Just
for
to
the
bring
last.
on the flavour.
I don't want them to overcook.
I remember Mum's going to kill me for telling you this story.
Okay,
right?
come on then.
But I remember when I was a kid, we grew up in Clondalkin, and it was Monday's muck, since we're talking
Monday's
about
muck,
right?
yeah.
So the leftovers. But there was spinach. Mum served spinach the day before, and she put spinach into this stew. Now, she still claims to this day that she never did it, but she did, because I've witnessed my sister say. And we
Did
had
it
to
survive
we
it?
had to sit at the kitchen table, and our kitchen overlooked the front, and all the kids were out playing outside on Monastery Walk, and so we used to.
I know where that is.
Yeah, so I think our house was 77 Monastery Walk, but we weren't allowed to leave the table until we ate every morsel.
Yeah, us
You could
too.
see them playing.
Us too.
We got it for breakfast the next day.
Oh yeah.
Did she actually do that? That was often
Yes,
threatened.
she
but
did.
I mean,
You
child
did,
services would be involved in that today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
My youngest boy, he is very adventurous, eats everything. When he was really small, he used to nick the sprouts off your plate. My family were very taken by that, because I taught them how to eat vegetables by putting them in the centre. I used to make 4 vegetables every gig, so every time there was a dinner, there'd be at least 4 vegetables. And the only rule was you had to eat at least 2. And I put a tongs in it, and there's no child who can't resist using a pair of tongs.
Oh, great idea.
So once it hit the plate, you had to try it. You didn't have to eat it, but you
Yeah.
had to try it. And so they're really great with
to take
vegetables.
it.
Yeah, but
Very
they love
good.
using the
Yeah,
tongs. So if you're trying to encourage kids to eat stuff, put a tongs in the middle. They love it. And you don't force the issue, but there was never any forcing. I didn't do, even feeding them when I was growing up, we didn't do this whole thing of what's for dinner. What's for dinner is the regular conversation.
Yeah.
When they say what's for dinner now, I put in I love you, Mum, instead. That's what I hear. So because
I love you too,
Yeah.
sweetheart.
yeah, you know what I mean? I love you, Mum, because the answer is always the same. What I make. That's what's for dinner.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get choices. There were some days you loved your dinner, sometimes you didn't. And in the case of bacon and cabbage and stew, you'd get the face. It's like,
Yeah, but they just still
But
eat
they
it.
are lovely.
Oh my
when
God, there'll be nothing
when
left
it's
on the plate.
Yeah. You live in Carrickfergus, do
I
you?
do.
How
up in-
beautiful.
yeah, beautiful by the sea. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I've seen the signpost, but I've never actually been. It's just
okay.
the song.
It's not
so
a natural.
romantic.
Yeah, it's not a natural move for a girl from Dublin because it's quite Protestant.
Yeah.
But actually, as a place, it's beautiful. It's right by the sea. There's a big castle. It's very famous for that. But actually, growing,
Shellfish,
yes,
seafood.
yeah, there is quite a bit of
Periwinkles.
seafood. Yeah, and there's good restaurants in the area. Just casually, and even in Belfast. I moved up at a time when Belfast was just opening out into that. So it's really, we were kind of at the start of everything. A little bit like if you think of the Dublin in the early 90s when it started to really blossom. So it's, I love living there. I like the fact that it's very relaxed, and my boys were raised there. But I have the joy
Were they
of
born
coming-
there? No, they weren't born.
yeah,
Yeah, they were, yeah.
born in the Royal in Belfast. They wanted
play
to
to
send
you.
me out to the Antrim Hospital, but I said,
yeah.
listen, put it at the top of the M1 so my parents can go.
Oh, yeah.
But they're, I loved it. I moved up about a year after the Good Friday Agreement,
Wow.
because I was...
What was that like?
it was
As a
I
city
used-
then?
Yeah, it was blossoming. It was just starting to learn how to be in that space, because up to a year before previous, obviously there was still army on the road. So you would have gone in and the army would have been there.
Dreadful, yeah.
Yeah. So I travelled up regularly from the late 80s till the mid 90s, right up until I moved up. But I'd say a year, even 2 years beforehand, I wouldn't have moved up.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have felt I
safe.
knew or safe enough.
Yeah.
Weirdly, but I've been nothing but safe up there.
Of course. Tell us about meeting your husband. You met him in a studio.
I met him in a recording studio.
Yeah. It's so romantic. I just find the Carrickfergus the name because the song.
Yeah.
And anyway,
know.
tell us about meeting your husband.
I was in
He's-
Randallstown, which is less
Stop
romantic.
blushing. You're kind of
It's less
blushing
romantic.
already.
She can't stop
Look at me,
smiling.
look at
I
her
know.
blushing. Isn't
I
that
love
great?
him. I love him. I love him. How can I tell you? He's so funny. 26. So I was in this studio recording, and it was up in Randallstown. It's like some random place, as studios often are. They're never in glamorous places, despite what you think. So we were having a lovely time recording, and then this fella comes in a pair of cycling shorts, God bless him, and a pair of dark glasses, and I was like, hello, and as you do, because randomly people would come into studios and you'd say hello and whatever, have the chats, move on. And then the producer was in a band with Paul, and they said, the female singer's gone missing from the band, so will you come and do a couple of gigs with us? And I said, oh yeah, no problem. It's like Eagles and Fleetwood Mac. Just send me the tapes. I love the songs. We'll have the crack. I'll do 2 gigs. So then Mud Wallace, who was a really good producer at the time, said he got sick, so I had to deal with Paul because obviously he was doing it. And so I did the 2 gigs. He was very impressed by the fact that I was able to find the venues without GPS back in the day, that as a woman I was able to do that. And then what happened was then for a few months after that I was doing a lot of work up in Belfast. At the time we were doing programmes with Jerry Ryan. There was an entertainment programme that they were doing. So I was doing different programmes up there, working with different things.
When you mention his name, it's like it brings it back to the...
I miss him so much.
I was in Clonakilty when that happened, and I was doing interviews, and I was like, it was just like, shocked.
Yeah, I still feel like a reaction when I think about him.
Where were you? Do you remember where you were?
I do.
Yeah, I was out for lunch with 2 journalists. Yeah, I do remember it well. Yeah,
it's mad, isn't it?
It is a funny
thing. It's such
thing.
an impact on...
Huge. And even I was over in Luxembourg there for the weekend, and somebody mentioned him and said, do you remember Jerry? He was amazing. And this was a foreigner. Like they just were so, because he'd obviously presented Eurovision, so there was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were in the studio, he came in, got to know him, and I was doing a lot of work for the next few months. So technically we were dating for 3 months before I actually realised we were dating, because he'd say, oh, sure, you're up.
Was it the bicycle shorts that did it for you? Was
No, I don't know. They were the padded ones, you know. No. It was false advertisement. We just got on really well.
And he made it casual. And
very
easy.
casual. And then there was a day, then we'd been out having something to eat or something, and I said, can you show me where I need to get petrol for the car? You know, where's the nearest one to here? Because we're in the centre, so I didn't really know. But this is before you could put in, where's the petrol station, right? So he brought me to this petrol station. I was filling up, and I looked up, and he was standing there. He says, do you want to come for coffee? And he's standing there with a pint of milk, a jar of coffee, and a bag of sugar. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I will.
He's a keeper.
And I was 30, he was 41, so we were already at a stage where we didn't know, we knew what we didn't want. We laughed every day, and 26 years later we still laugh every day.
Together. And you looked forward to seeing him at the beginning, obviously.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to be honest with you, the greatest gift he gave me was, first of all, he said he totally supports me in everything I do. Right, so there's never any conversation, we have a conversation if something's going to be maybe taking up a lot of time. So obviously that's a conversation, especially when the kids were small. But he's incredibly supportive. He just goes, well, you should be doing it, Niamh, because you're amazing when you do it. So why were you not doing that?
That's cool.
And
is it because he did it himself?
He plays, but he's also a photographer. So we don't do every gig together. Yeah. We gig together sometimes, which is really lovely. And we do a night called Date Night, which is basically where I do a retrospective of all the 38 years that I've been gigging, which is hilarious. It's just an acoustic and me, 2 voices and an acoustic guitar and stories.
Oh, great.
And it's really fun because anything can come out in that. And we do a choir fixture in the night because I think everybody should sing.
Lovely.
But that's where you started singing through a choir, wasn't it?
I did, yeah. I started I was a soprano. Yeah. And I was singing Ave Maria. I was forever getting taken out of the classes to sing at the old nuns' funerals in Dominic's. But I did classical music.
Is that where you learned that song?
Really? The nuns?
So I started classical, so I in my teens. And then I joined a band when I was 18, which is not very conducive to classical music, but it opened up my eyes. I did a wedding band for 2 years, and then I did a dance band, which was kind of the end of the show band thing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course,
you were on a circuit then, were you?
Yeah, I was on the circuit, but I was working during the day, keeping my good job because my mum.
Good job in AIB.
Yeah, well, I worked lots of jobs originally. I worked in Aer Lingus. Ardal and Hanlon and I were in the same summer. We went to work for the summer in Aer Lingus when I was 18. We were both working on check-in for the summer. Both of us were laughing about that recently. Do you remember?
And you had a green uniform on.
I had a lovely green dress. Yeah. And then, but I was gigging all the time. So basically I used to take the early shift so I could go home and sleep for the afternoon and then do the gig at the night. And then I worked in Air Rienta, so I worked in the airport because, I lived over Glasnevin, so it was a natural thing to do that. So I was the voice on the information desk for a while and worked in Cleary's in the cash office. Every major institution I had to go up.
Under the clock at Cleary's, eh?
And you're welcome.
I met a few girls under that clock.
I bet you did. Did you maybe arrange to meet some of them and then
Yeah.
maybe not
turn
see
up,
them?
yeah.
I used to stand across the road and look across. I was leading
See
forward.
whether they were worth looking at. Will I bother crossing the road or not? I know Clary's clock was iconic,
Yeah.
actually. I remember in '93 on the Christmas show in the Den, Dustin asked me out on a date, the turkey.
Yes.
And asked me, and he said he'd meet me under Clary's clock. I
Brilliant.
waited a long time. No time.
The clock's still there.
The
Clearly
clock's
it's not.
still there.
It's,
I know. So I worked lots of places and then I ended up in the bank, of course,
Yes.
which
yeah.
is the big thing. I know.
But that brings us nicely to Agony Rants.
Agony Rants.
So that's your podcast and it's so good.
Oh my God, so much fun doing that.
Guro Farrelly.
He is the star, literally. He is funny. But the funny thing about Grode is he lived around the corner from me when I won Eurovision.
Yes.
And he was 14, so he decided, he was basically a stalker first.
Yes. Yeah.
A fan.
brilliant. Yeah.
And then he got it.
Fan sounds better than stalker.
Yeah, I know.
Just saying.
He'd call himself a stalker.
I'm just saying, but I'm not saying anything I wouldn't say to his face.
I know, yeah.
He used to write me letters. I still have them.
Yeah.
I'm keeping them in a box just in case I ever need to use them in future reference. He is funny. And we've become friends very well for years and years. And for years we've been waiting for somebody to give us a job together. So we got browned off waiting for that. So we decided we would do a podcast, which we thought we would do over 10 weeks. And
Episode 154.
154 episodes later, we're still doing it because we love it. And he said, what should we do in this podcast? And obviously we have to do something. And I said, well, I'm like the mammy and you're the gay best friend, so surely we should be doing an Agony Aunt thing and also you do outrage very well, so we should really just be ranting. So that's Agony
what you
Rants
do.
came from that. And so basically people write in and tell us their problems, and I'll loosely use the words advise them. Basically we laugh. There's a lot of laughing,
Crack.
Yeah, it's about
Something.
lightening a situation really rather than, which is what most
Which
people
is
want.
lovely.
That's what they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we would never belittle because, obviously people are writing in and if it's
But a lot of
important.
people just want to voice their concern. And once it's
Totally.
out there, it's off their shoulders.
It's totally,
It
it's
makes
like,
our lives so much easier.
it's like sitting at a table with your friends and say, would you believe this happened? And then they react in a certain way and then you feel better for it. So that's the whole point of it. But we get letters from America, Canada, Australia. We've had places.
Letters? Or
Yeah.
emails?
Well, emails. Okay. I'm old school girl.
No, that's just it. We get the odd letter.
Yeah, I know. I love a
They're
letter.
fantastic.
If you get a letter, it's really special.
Yeah.
It is
Letter.
special.
But you read it, really read it when,
know,
when you get a
I-
letter.
You
go,
do,
"Oh,
yeah.
I write letters to
Impressive.
the women in my life every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, I do.
to say
Because my
thanks
mum
and-
used to do it, so
Oh,
she
yeah.
still signs me a card.
Yeah.
Usually there's a cautionary tale in the middle. You say, oh, you clearly have to fix that.
And do you know what was your most engaged question? Is there a question you can think of that people really loved?
Oh, God, so many. So many. The follow-ups and then the reactions to them are hilarious.
Yeah, so there's sex and there's...
Oh, there's sex. There was in the beginning, in the first while, there was a lot of sex in toilets in the spa, which was
Just
a
to
new
shock
one
you.
for me.
Yeah.
No, there's lots of things. Sometimes it's slightly left, and not unsurprisingly, there's sometimes. So they kind of tend to come in three categories.
Yeah.
So you have the career ones.
Yeah.
People who say, should we throw up everything and go to do this, or this person's an L bitch in my class, or in my place. So you have those kind of ones where you're having difficulties within your work. You have your friend groups, which is a very big one. Friend one where I've outgrown this friend, or this friend has been mean to me, or
no, they can be massive
they're
problems
massive
for people.
things.
Yeah.
And then obviously people going through different stages of life, or maybe they're coming out or doing whatever it is anyway. And then you have the ones in the relationships, which can go from my mother-in-law's an owl cow to, it's never to sexual dysfunction necessarily, but it's, it's about elements of, what a relationship would be.
And
So
what's
they
that-
are usually quite funny.
And what type of, who are you and who's Garode in the advice?
Oh, I'm the ma.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
usually quite balanced, although if I get my soapbox about something, it's all over. And he's the one most likely to go through with a wheelie bin through the door. You want him fighting for you. He's so outraged by situations. He's hilarious.
I did like decent questions like, what am I going to cook for Sunday lunch this week?
Well, if I got those questions, I could certainly answer them. But I'd be ringing, when you say phone a friend, I'd be ringing you, Kevin.
Yeah.
No, but actually, it is amazing what people write in, and sometimes you're like, "Oh yeah, I really like that," and people relate to it because even though they might not have a direct, some of them are very bizarre. So you'll get something really super bizarre, and you go, "Well, not many of us will find us in that situation," but within it, there's probably parallels, and so you get people. I mean, it's astonishing. They told us at the beginning that it's really hard to get people to write in with their problems, and we are now 154 shows in, and people are still writing in.
That's not great.
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's super.
There's an element to helping people too, which is kind of nice.
I love it.
Does your husband listen before we go on to our
No, I try and encourage him not to. Because I'm very brutally honest in it.
Okay, so we're going to do our quick section.
Quick. I love it.
Okay. So, which would you prefer, brown sauce, ketchup, or Ballymaloe?
Well, obviously recently Ballymaloe, because that's where my thing is. I definitely would have been a ketchup girl, and my husband is a brown sauce man.
Brown sauce man.
So I always have all of them in my life.
Yeah, do you? You sound like you do. Your life is so varied.
I'm the eternal politician. I would supply anything you need. But for me, if you were giving me those three, it'll be Ballymaloe. I want a little bit of zoom.
Tato or king?
Tato.
Tato, why?
Tato, because I kind of grew up with Tato, but there's an added layer for me now because I live up the north.
Yes.
And,
they're different.
And we have the yellow Tato and the blue and red Tato, which is the southern and the northern Tato.
And?
For a long time, I resisted it, but I have to say I prefer the northern Tato. Only cheese and onion. Salt and vinegar, we are sublime in down here. Yeah. But I think it's to do with what you eat. So when I was growing up, we would have at the odd king, but it was really Tato what we ate, right? So that's what you got used to. And when I went up north, I said, "What a fresh hell is this? This is not Tato," because it didn't taste the same. It does taste different.
Does your mum not go out and remember when that yellow pack was out?
Yeah.
Mum used to go out and buy that 6-pack of yellow pack Tatos.
Yeah.
Or not Tatos.
No, but generic.
Generic shite.
Crazy prices.
Pure shite.
Yellow pack.
Do you remember the yellow pack?
Yes.
Do you remember the yellow pack?
I do, from Super Queen, yes.
Yeah.
No,
it would have been more Crazy Price or
Quinsworth or something.
Quinsworth,
was it Quinsworth?
Yeah.
Was that white pack and
white
yellow pack?
and yellow, something,
but anyways, leave the crisps behind, lads.
I know when they started bringing in
the experts, Tato.
when they started bringing the new people in Aer Lingus just after I left, they called them the Yellow Packers because they got a lesser contract than everybody else.
Yes.
Do you remember back then, Aer Lingus used to do outdoor catering?
That's correct.
They used to do the catering for the Irish Open.
Really
and I always
did.
remember, there's two distinct memories
hilarious.
of mine as a kid. And it was coffee, and it was the Aer Lingus coffee stand at the Irish Open, Portmarnock, and then walking down Grafton Street and Bewley's coffee, the roasting of the
That's
coffees.
correct.
They're great childhood memories.
And they were the sum total of where you'd get coffee in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Now look at us.
We've come a long way.
Now look at us.
Sorry.
Do you like Marmite?
No.
Okay. Oh, Gavin.
But my best friend does.
Okay.
And so there's a regular, how many places can I find an unusual thing that has Marmite in it?
Yeah.
But to be fair, I will say this. Because I didn't like it so much when I was young, although I loved Bovril, which is weird. You'd think it'd be similar.
Yeah.
I haven't really tried it since, so maybe that's a challenge another day.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a favourite pub that you can think of?
Well, it's funny about pubs with me, right? Because there's a million pubs I could tell you about for different reasons. Mainly because I gigged in them, or maybe when I was young. Because I'm not really a drinker, my first go-to is not to go to a pub for social. But also because I gigged in them.
Yeah,
so that was
worky.
it was like a busman's tour.
Yeah.
But there's one pub I still go to regularly, which is the Shanley's in Clonagilty, because I still gig there because I've been gigging there for 30 years.
It is a nice pub,
It's an old-fashioned pub in the sense of it's not the modern, but it's gorgeous, family
It's
run.
down the side run.
That's exactly right.
On the right, yeah.
And they have a great spirit in it, and they always have music.
Oh, lovely.
So you can go in,
Yeah,
and it used to be
every night, isn't it?
used to be music every night. I think it's only 4 nights now,
Is it?
but it was because eventually because the owner was a musician, so he used to go in and play the piano and all, and the singing, and you do it in the snug. You literally go in, and it's not a night unless I'm standing on a stool singing Mustang Sally. That's it's very much about the spirit.
Gorgeous.
And I love the whole...
That would be a night now, to be in that pub.
It was
and
a night.
Sitting, singing Mustang Sally.
The sweat lashing off me.
Happy days.
It is pretty special.
I'd be cooking up the cocktail sausages in the corner. We'd be grand.
Kevin,
Sorted.
we're booked. We love
Can
the
I
Kelly
come
Balloon
along?
on this side. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
I
yes.
welcome people.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
If they're listening to this, they're already making that call.
Yeah. Do you have a food disaster or a food faux pas where you had 20 people for dinner and
Have I ever had a disaster? I've had disasters, but I've saved them. Right. So there's been times where things haven't been right where they should be, but after years of cooking, you pivot.
You know how to
very
save.
fast. The biggest difficulty is if you don't anticipate a vegetarian or vegan, you want to give them options that are not basically whatever vegetables you've cooked to the side. I think I always like that.
Omelette.
That to me.
Oh, not for vegan. Yeah, go on. There you go. See, I'm lost already. I like
See.
Yeah. We'd manage though. We'd be fine.
Well,
We'd
but,
manage.
to be honest, if you're a cook, you can make anything work if you need to. So I don't stress the small stuff. The faux pas are usually maybe I just cook something somebody doesn't like. That's it.
that's it? Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do anything about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I can't talk about that.
And what's your food hell?
My food hell is margarine.
Oh yeah, margarine
agree
is
with you, yeah.
disgusting. Yeah.
Margarine. I
And
can't
it was
be
in our
having it.
houses for about 10 years.
Stalk.
Yeah.
Stork. Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind. We used to bake with it. That's fine. I can.
yeah,
I
but
could
on
have coached that.
toast.
But
On toast?
On toast, like
No.
we're talking about margarine as a
Yes, a margarine.
no.
Remember-
The margarine spread.
Yeah.
Opposed to the margarine that people cook with.
Yeah,
Do
but
they-
you see,
Bake
margarine. I don't mind the bacon because that's a different thing. But actually, I can't cope. It comes from school sandwiches. So school sandwiches back in our day, you got a free sandwich in school, and Mondays was cheese, Tuesday and Thursday was the worst corned beef you ever had in your life, and the Wednesday was the fun day because that was a fruit bun, and Thursday and Friday was a jam sandwich. And because you got a free sandwich, generally sometimes you were given stuff for lunch, but you didn't have your lunch, and they never used real butter. And to this day, if somebody makes a sandwich and I haven't seen it made, I can't eat it.
yeah.
Do you not smell it?
I can see it at 40 paces, let me tell you. I can.
Yeah.
But I'm okay. I try to be very polite, but sometimes I'm nervous because
Just take that shite off my sandwich, please.
kind of.
Is that the politeness? Is it?
Inside voice for that. Outside, oh, that's lovely. I'm not really hungry.
Yeah.
Do you not just say, actually, I love sandwich. I just don't take butter in my
Yes, I
sandwich.
do that. But then people know how I feel about
And then-
butter.
Yeah.
Because
In
I've
my
never-
sandwich.
Yes.
So, anyways,
I do,
sorry.
yeah.
I keep interrupting.
So that's my
No,
food
you're not
hell.
interrupting me.
That's
your
my food hell.
Yeah, that's a good one. Your final question really is your best foot forward dish.
That's a really tough one because it depends on who's at the table. Right? You know that. It's a
Who
bit
is
like,
at the table? when
well,
you
who's
have-
at the table in that stage is usually friends and family, right? So if people are friends or family at the table, I know they want the whole enchilada. So I'll do a big roast. Food for me is something that's in the centre.
Yeah, love it.
Sharing,
Yeah.
caring. It's a little thing that I struggle with in MasterChef because I couldn't do the funny where you put a little tiny leaf on something. That's not my kind of cooking.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me, what is it that you cook? Well, to be honest, it's not about quality, it's about quantity, but quality's there, right? Food sharing. So most of the things that I love to cook when I feel people are coming over is food that will share. So I love a big roast dinner with all the trimmings. I love that. And if I do Christmas dinner,
Yeah.
okay, obviously you might set up a what I would call a buffet area because there's so many people.
Yeah.
We get the outside table, stick it on, and Paul made a big piece of wood that we stick on the top of it, and everybody sits at the table. I don't want separate tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a
yeah.
food festival there last weekend, homegrown, Richard Carrigan's up in Virginia Park Lounge.
Love it.
And he did a roast, and it was suckling pigs, and there was 10 chefs, like I was one of them, walked out with the whole suckling pig and put it right in the centre of the table, and we were just carving it and handing it out. to people on the side.
Astonishing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Best
Really,
ever.
Really good.
Yeah. Well, you guys are amazing. I could never carve in front of 20 people.
Well, it was a bit scary, like the whole pig.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, if they're
Somebody
sitting around my table, they're not getting pretty carving. But they don't care.
They don't care. It smells so
not
good.
pretty.
Okay, I might give it a go someday.
We were all
Come out with
experts.
it's like big hunks of meat and everything. It's great. No, it's about the sharing element for me, always with food.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, well, Niamh Kavanagh, we'd love to come to your house for
Come
dinner.
on. Just ring ahead.
By the way, I'm a vegan.
Don't think I wouldn't like that challenge.
No bother.